Hello, Professor. We are going to present our final project, which is on the topic United States Post Secondary Institutions. Our team members are myself, Monica, Rehanne, and Samir. The table of contents of the project are as follows: the overview, the project architecture, the key performance questions, data cleansing, which is done in Jupyter Notebook by our data scientist, the Jupyter visualization, Power BI visualization, and then final is the conclusion. The overview of the project is: by raising public awareness and development of technology, more people around the world find achieving higher level of education a must. For the purpose of studying datasets and understanding more about young generation interest, United States as a developed country could be a perfect option. In this presentation, we are going to analyze a dataset reported on 2013 regarding the United States post-secondary institution. The dataset has been adapted from data.world using Power BI. Important part is identifying the business problem, which are as follows: what are the most expensive states in the US for students? Which institutions are having the most expensive tuition fees? What proportion of different races are studying in the US? What proportion of institutions are controlling by private or public segment? What is the proportion of awarded different degrees in each institution? Which are the most popular institutions in the US? According to the business problem, the data narrative used for this project is discovery. Now, Samir will be showing you the raw dataset in Excel. Thank you.
Thank you, Faizan, for the introduction. This is Samir as a data analyst of the group. Let us now look at the raw data set that we have obtained from data.world. So the data set is about university education in USA. In this data set, we have roughly 1071 rows and 41 columns. There are multiple columns including ID number, name, year, zip code, highest degree offered, then location, latitude and longitudinal location of the university, and then religious affiliation if any, and then what types of courses the university offers, and count of application total, admissions total, enrolled total, and then percentage of freshmen submitting scores of SAT and ACT, estimated enrollment total, associates degrees awarded, bachelor's degrees awarded, the count of master's degrees awarded, doctor's degrees in research, and so on, and then the tuition fees for the years 2010, 12, and 14, and then we have total expenses that is spent by the students living on campus, and then we have level of institution, control of institution, percentage of ethnicities, Asian, Black, Latino, White, and then percentage of women, percentage of freshmen receiving financial aid, student ratio receiving federal grant aid, and student ratio receiving student loan AID. So in this data set, there are unnecessary columns that won't be used in our analysis is ID number and zip code, which will be further dropped by our data scientist Monica. Also, we can see that there are multiple missing values in these fields where you see applicants total, admission total, and enrolled total, and so on and so forth. So we need to do an analysis on this and figure out if these missing values can be replaced with any value. So that would be done by our data scientist, handing the raw data set to our data scientist Monica. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This is Monica as a data scientist. So let's start with the data cleaning now. So for cleaning the dataset, I have used Pandas NumPy library, and then for visualization purpose, I'll be using Matplotlib, Seaborn, and Plotly library. Here I have used Pandas read Excel method to import the dataset. So I have used Pandas dtypes method to check the data type of the columns in the dataset. So here we can see that the applicants total, admissions total, and enroll total, the data type is given in the float format. instead of the integer. So we need to change the data type of these columns to the integer format for the visualization purpose. I have then used Pandas isNull method to check the null values in the dataset, moved from the dataset before doing the further analysis. Then here I have used Pandas drop any method to drop the rows which are linked to the missing values of applicants total, percent of freshmen submitting SAT scores, tuition 2010. Then I have again used Pandas isNull method to check the null values in the dataset. After treating the null values in the dataset, I have then used Pandas asType method to change the format of admissions total, applicants total and enroll total to the integer format. Then here we can see that the data type of these columns have now changed to the integer format. After dropping the null values from the dataset, I have dropped the ID number and zip code columns from the dataset, as we do not require these columns for the further analysis. After cleaning and formatting the dataset, I have created few charts to know the patterns in the dataset. This is the scatter plot that I have created using the Plotly library. This chart represents the highest degree offered in terms of total enrollments and tuition fee. The size of the bubble depends on the number of applicants who apply to these universities. So here we can see that most students have applied to the University of California at Santa Barbara. The highest degree provided by this university is the PhD research, and the tuition fee for this university is near $13,6700 US. And if we look at the Vassar College, here we can see that the tuition fee for the Vassar College is quite high. It is also noted that the total applicants for this college is 7,597. But only 666 students got enrolled. After this, I have used Matplotlib to create the histogram to show the distribution of total expenses for in-state and out-state students living on the campus. So let's explore this histogram first. So in this histogram, the light color bars shows the total expenses for out-state students, and the dark bars shows the total expenses for in-state students living on the campus. So by looking at these bars, here we can see that most students are paying around $30,000 to $40,000 to live on the campus, whereas most of the students from this range, we can see that they are coming out of the state. Then by looking at this portion of the histogram, we can see that the total expenses for in-state students is quite lower than the out-state students living on the campus. After the histogram, I have used the combination of Matplotlib and Seaborn library to create the bar chart. This chart shows the percent of Asians enrolled in different type of institutions. Overall, we can say that most of the Asians have enrolled in private universities, which provides PhD in professional practice. Whereas if we look at these bars, we can see that in the case of public universities, most Asians have enrolled in those public universities which do not provide PhD in professional practice. Lastly, I have used Plotly library again to create the Violin plot taken in different degrees with respect to different type of institutions. And here the orange Violin plot shows the distribution for the public universities, whereas the blue Violin plot shows the distribution for the private university. If we look at here in the case of a bachelor degree, the quarters are very close to each other, and the median of the total admissions in bachelor's degree is quite the same for both public and private universities. So, and if we look at these box plots, so with the help of these box plots, we can see the significant outliers are there in the PhD research. Also, we can see that when it comes to take admission in PhD research, students mostly prefer to take admissions in public universities, over the private universities. So that's all about the data cleaning and understanding the data.
Thank you, Monica, for handing over the clean data set to me. As you can see, we have dropped a couple of columns here, the ID column, and then we have also worked on the null values of this data set. Now let us add a pivot table to this data set. Here, as you can see, I have added a pivot table of count of universities per state. So in this pivot table, I have also added a pivot chart, that is a cluster chart, area chart. As you can see in this area chart, we see that most of the universities are around Oregon state, and then followed by New Mexico, North California, then California, and Arizona. The presentation to Rehane to walk through the dashboard.
Hello everyone, my name is Rehane and I'm the business analyst of the group. In this part of the presentation, I'm going to go through every single chart that we used for the visualization, and then at the end I'm going to give you an overall view of the dashboard in Power BI. So let's get started. First chart is the donut chart, which shows the proportion of different types of degrees, including master, bachelor, PhD research, and PhD professional practice. It can be seen from the chart that most students in the US are pursuing a master's degree, which the percentage is close to 50%. Whereas the least students are pursuing the PhD professional practice. The column chart is used to show the average of expenses per year for different types of institutions. The lighter color here stands for domestic students living on campus, and the darker color stands for international students. It can be seen that most of the expenses implied in the case of private institutions where students from both in-state and international are spending nearly equal amount for living on campus, whereas the public institutions show that the expenses for domestic students is actually $10,000 less in comparison with international students. This bar chart shows the average of tuition fee charged by the top most expensive institutions. It can be seen that the average tuition fee of Vassar College is the highest among the given institutions, where this specific college is charging over $40,000 per year. The next chart is a tree map, which created to show the proportion of different types of degrees, which includes associate, bachelor's, master's, PhD professional practice, and PhD in research, awarded by U.S. institutions and universities. It can be seen that bachelor's degree occupied the biggest proportion, and the least belongs to PhD in research, and then PhD professional practice. Here used to show the location of different institutions in the country. It can be understood from the map that most institutions in the US are located in the eastern side of the country. The stacked column chart shows the number of applicants and the number of admissions in top 6 universities. Here, the lighter shade shows the proportion of total applicants, and the darker color shows the proportion of admissions. It can be seen that among all the institutions, University of California, Santa Barbara experienced the greatest number of applicants and admissions. 55,000 of applicants and 25,000 of admissions this university experienced. The final chart again is a bar chart, which shows the average of expenses for both domestic and international students in top 5 most expensive states. It can be seen that the average expenses for both groups is the highest in Massachusetts, with over $43,000 per year. Heading to our Power BI dashboard, you can see the first page of the dashboard. On the left side of the page, some filters are set up for the convenience of searching, and here you can see some insights based on your search. For example, when you choose your institution, it shows you the total applicants and the total admissions, whereas the total enrollment. So you can get an idea if you have a chance to apply for this university or college or not. And here we have the map, which shows the location, and then the donut charts and other charts which shows more information in detail. So let's set up the filters and see the changes over the dashboard. For example, if I put up the state filter on New York, I can see that two of the most expensive institutions are located in New York, Vassar and Union College. So I go ahead with Union College to see what's the situation. For this college, we had overall of 5,725 total of applicants, and this college gave admission to 2,134 students. And the total of enrolls, as you can see, is 559. This college, the highest degree that this college covers is bachelor degree, and here you can see that 488 bachelor's degree was awarded during the year. And here you can get an idea about the average of student expenses. As you can see, there is no difference between international and domestic students. And over here, you can see the tuition fee for 2010, 12, and 14, which 2014 for sure has the highest tuition fee. The control of this college is by private segments, and the percentage of enrollments based on race is 81% white people and 6.5% are Asian people. Second page of the dashboard, based on your selection, you can see the number of actually students who are using federal aid and loan aid. This is for sure important for students, especially international students, to know their chance of getting financial aid. Over here, we have the popularity of universities. University of California, Santa Barbara is the university that gave the most admissions and is the most popular university. You can see here. And then we have the most expensive states based on the domestic and international student expenses. So now, if I set up the filter, for example, on California, you can see the expenses for the students, and then here you have these universities, which are all among the popular universities.
Thank you, Rihanna, for an excellent explanation on the dashboard. The conclusion of our final project is the highest proportion of institutions are running by the private segment. The ratio of students studying masters is greater in comparison with other levels. University of California are among the most popular universities, and this state is also among the most expensive states. Vassar College, located in New York, is the most expensive college in our list. Finally, student expenses for both domestic and international students is higher for who studying in private institutions. Thank you.